The unexpected encounter. The vast expanse of space stretched out before the UES Defiant, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded her. The patrol mission to the outer reaches of human space had been uneventful so far, but something in her gut told her that was about to change. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, status report," she called out, her voice calm but authoritative. The young officer's fingers danced across his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. We're approaching the edge of charted space. No anomalies detected." Chen nodded, her short black hair shifting slightly as she turned to face her crew. Each of them was handpicked for this mission, the best Earth had to offer. They were explorers, scientists, and soldiers, united in their quest to push the boundaries of human knowledge and protect their species' interests. "Dr. Takahashi, any interesting readings from your scans?" Chen asked, addressing the ship's lead scientist. The older man adjusted his glasses, a habit he'd never shaken despite corrective surgery. "Nothing out of the ordinary, Captain. Just the usual cosmic background radiation and—" He paused, his brow furrowing as he leaned closer to his screen. "Wait a moment. There's something unusual." Chen was at his side in an instant, her interest piqued. "What is it, Doctor?" "I'm detecting a gravitational anomaly about 2 light minutes from our position. It's massive." Takahashi's voice held a mix of excitement and concern. Before Chen could respond, klaxons blared across the bridge. Red warning lights bathed the crew in an eerie glow. "Multiple contacts," Rodriguez shouted, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Hundreds, no, thousands of ships just dropped out of FTL. They're everywhere." Chen's mind raced as she processed the information. This was unprecedented. No known species had a fleet this size, not even close. "Battle stations," she ordered, her training kicking in. "Shields up, weapons hot. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The crew sprang into action, their movements precise and practiced. Chen returned to her command chair, strapping herself in as the ship's AI brought up tactical displays. "My God," whispered Commander Ishikuri, the ship's XO, as she stared at the screens. The space around them was filled with alien vessels of various sizes, from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts. They seemed to stretch on forever, a sea of metal and energy readings that dwarfed anything humanity had ever encountered. "Open a channel," Chen commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "To all frequencies, all languages we know." A moment passed, and then Rodriguez nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Chen took a deep breath. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Defiant. We come in peace and mean you no harm. Please respond." Seconds ticked by, feeling like an eternity. The alien armada remained motionless, a silent, menacing presence that surrounded them on all sides. Suddenly, a harsh, guttural sound filled the bridge. It took a moment for Chen to realize it was laughter. A holographic image flickered to life in front of her, revealing a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. It was vaguely humanoid, with elongated limbs and a head that seemed too large for its body. Its skin was a mottled gray-green, and multiple eyes blinked at her from what she assumed was its face. "Peace." The alien spoke, its voice translated by the ship's computers. "You speak of peace when you trespass in our domain. Your species' arrogance knows no bounds." Chen fought to keep her composure. "We were unaware this region was claimed. We are on a mission of exploration and scientific discovery. If we have violated your territory, we apologize and will withdraw immediately." The alien's laughter grew louder. "Withdraw? Oh no, little human. You will not be going anywhere. Your ship and its technology will make a fine addition to our fleet. And your crew, well, we always need more subjects for our experiments." Chen's blood ran cold, but she refused to show fear. "We will not surrender our ship or our people. We have no quarrel with you, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." The alien's eyes narrowed. So be it. Your bravery is admirable. If foolish, it will be interesting to see how long it lasts. The transmission cut off abruptly. Captain, they're powering up weapons. Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with tension. Chen's mind raced through their options. They were hopelessly outnumbered, but the Defiant was one of the most advanced ships in the human fleet. They might have a chance if they could break through the encirclement. Tactical, analyze their weapons' signatures. Find me a weak point, she ordered. Navigation, plot us a course out of here. Maximum speed. As the crew worked frantically, Chen felt a strange calm settle over her. This was what they had trained for, what humanity had prepared for since they first looked to the stars. They might be outnumbered, but they weren't outmatched. Not yet. Weak point identified, the tactical officer reported. Their formation is thinnest at bearing 047 Mark 332. Course plotted and laid in, navigation added. Chen nodded, her decision made. All hands, brace for high-G maneuvers. Tactical, target that weak point with everything we've got. Navigation, on my mark, punch it. The tension on the bridge was palpable as everyone waited for Chen's command. The alien ships began to move, closing in on the Defiant like a net. Now, Chen shouted. The Defiant lurched forward, its engines screaming as they pushed to maximum output. Weapons fire erupted from its banks, a dazzling display of human technology unleashed against the alien horde. The first volley caught the aliens by surprise. Several of their smaller ships exploded, creating a momentary gap in their formation. The Defiant shot through, alarms blaring as enemy fire grazed its shields. Shields at 80%, Rodriguez reported. We're clear of the initial wave, but they're in pursuit. Chen gripped her chair tightly as the ship bucked and weaved, dodging the incoming fire. Keep us moving. Evasive pattern Delta. Tactical, return fire when you have a clear shot. The battle raged on, a desperate dance of attack and retreat. The Defiant's superior maneuverability allowed it to stay just ahead of the alien fleet, but Chen knew they couldn't keep this up forever. Captain, Dr. Takahashi called out, his voice urgent. I've been analyzing the data from our initial scans. These aliens, they're using some kind of hive mind technology. It's how they're coordinating such a massive fleet. Chen's mind raced with the implications. A hive mind could be both a strength and a weakness. Can we disrupt it? Takahashi shook his head. Not with our current technology. But if we could get closer to their command ship, I might be able to gather more data. It was a risky proposition, but they needed every advantage they could get. Understood. Commander Kori, work with Dr. Takahashi. See if you can find a way to use this information. As the Defiant continued its desperate flight, Chen couldn't help but think of Earth, billions of kilometers away and blissfully unaware of the threat that loomed. Somehow, they had to find a way to warn them, to prepare them for what was coming. Captain, Rodriguez called out, his voice tight. Long-range sensors are picking up more ships entering the system. A lot more. Chen closed her eyes for a moment, steeling herself for what was to come. When she opened them, her gaze was filled with determination. All right, people. We're in for the fight of our lives. But remember this, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for Earth, for humanity. And we will not go down easily. As the alien reinforcements approached and the Defiant plunged deeper into uncharted space, Captain Sarah Chen and her crew prepared themselves for the battle that would determine the fate of their species. The odds were overwhelming, but they carried with them the indomitable spirit of humanity, resourceful, determined, and unwilling to submit in the face of impossible odds. The real test was just beginning, unveiling the threat. The UEA's Defiant hurtled through space, its engines straining as it pushed the limits of human engineering. Behind it, the vast alien armada gave chase, their weapons fire lighting up the void like a deadly fireworks display. Captain Sarah Chen's eyes darted between tactical displays, her mind racing to formulate a plan. Status report, she barked, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Commander Corey responded quickly, shields at 62% and holding, Captain. We've managed to stay ahead of their main force, but those reinforcements are gaining on us. Chen nodded grimly. They had bought themselves some time, but they were far from safe. Dr. Takahashi, what have you learned about our pursuers? The scientist's fingers flew across his console as he compiled his findings. They call themselves the Swarm, Captain. From what I've gathered, they're a collective consciousness spread across multiple bodies. Each ship we're seeing is like a cell in a larger organism. That explains their coordination, Chen mused. Any weaknesses we can exploit? Takahashi shook his head. Not yet, but I have a theory. Their hive mind must have a central node, a command chip of sorts. If we could locate and neutralize it, we might be able to throw their entire fleet into disarray. Chen finished, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Good work, Doctor. Keep digging. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as new warnings flashed across the screens. The scientist's fingers flew across his console as he compiled his findings. They call themselves the Swarm, Captain. From what I've gathered, they're a collective consciousness spread across multiple bodies. Each ship we're seeing is like a cell in a larger organism. That explains their coordination, Chen mused. Any weaknesses we can exploit? Takahashi shook his head. Not yet, but I have a theory. Their hive mind must have a central node, a command chip of sorts. If we could locate and neutralize it, we might be able to throw their entire fleet into disarray. Chen finished, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Good work, Doctor. Keep digging. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as new warnings flashed across the screens. Direct hit to our starboard engine. Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted. We're losing speed. Chen gritted her teeth. Reroute power from non-essential systems. We need to stay ahead of them. As the crew worked feverishly to keep the Defiant moving, Chen couldn't help but wonder about the Swarm's motivations. Why were they so determined to capture one human ship? Open a channel, she ordered. I want to speak to their leader again. The alien's grotesque face appeared once more, its multiple eyes blinking in what Chen could only assume was amusement. Have you reconsidered your foolish resistance, little human? Chen met its gaze unflinchingly. Why are you pursuing us with such force? Surely one ship isn't worth all this effort. The alien's laughter sent chills down her spine. Oh, but it is. You see, we've been watching your kind for some time now. Your technology, while primitive compared to ours, has potential. And your species' resourcefulness is quite remarkable. If you admire us so much, why not attempt peaceful contact? Chen pressed, trying to buy more time for her crew to work. Peace, the alien scoffed. We are the Swarm. We do not make peace. We consume. We assimilate. And your Earth, teeming with life and resources, will make a fine addition to our collective. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. They're not just after us, Commander Corey whispered, horror dawning on her face. They're planning to invade Earth. Chen's mind raced with the implications. The Swarm's massive fleet, their advanced technology, their hive mind coordination. Earth wouldn't stand a chance if they were caught unprepared. We need to warn Earth, Chen declared. Communications, prepare a data packet with everything we've learned about the Swarm. Encrypt it with our highest level protocols. Captain, Rodriguez interjected. Even our fastest transmission would take weeks to reach Earth from this distance. Chen's expression hardened. Then we'll have to get closer. Plot a course back to Earth. Maximum speed. But Captain, Corey protested, that would mean flying straight through the heart of the Swarm fleet. I'm aware of the risks, Commander, Chen replied, her voice filled with determination. But we have no choice. Earth needs to be warned, no matter the cost. As the Defiant altered its course, diving back towards the pursuing Armada, Dr. Takahashi's console lit up with new information. Captain, I've isolated a unique energy signature within the swarm fleet. It could be their command ship. Chen leaned forward, studying the data. Good work, Doctor. This might be the advantage we need. Tactical. Analyze that signature. I want options for disabling or destroying that ship. The bridge buzzed with renewed activity as the crew worked to formulate a plan. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something the swarm didn't: the unpredictable ingenuity of the human spirit. Captain, Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with tension. We've got multiple ships on an intercept course. They'll be in weapons range in 2 minutes. Chen nodded, her mind made up. All hands, battle stations. We're going to punch a hole right through their fleet. The Defiant's weapons came to life, a dazzling array of energy beams and projectiles lancing out into space. The first wave of swarm ships scattered, clearly unprepared for such an aggressive maneuver from their prey. Press the advantage, Chen ordered. Keep us moving towards that command ship signature. As they plunged deeper into the heart of the swarm fleet, the battle intensified. The Defiant weaved and dodged, its point defense systems working overtime to intercept incoming fire. But for every enemy ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Shields at 40%, Curry reported, her voice strained. We can't take much more of this, Captain. Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. They were close to the suspected command ship, but breaking through the last line of defense seemed impossible. Suddenly, an idea struck her. Dr. Takahashi, you said the swarm operates like a single organism, correct? The scientist nodded, puzzled. Yes, Captain. Their ships act like cells in a larger body. And what happens when a body suffers a sudden, intense pain? Chen pressed. Takahashi's eyes widened as he caught on. It recoils. The entire system focuses on the point of injury. Exactly, Chen said, a grim smile on her face. Tactical, prepare to overload our main deflector dish. Route all available power to it. Captain, Corey interjected, that could burn out our entire sensor array. We'd be flying blind. It's a risk we have to take, Chen replied. On my mark, release the energy pulse directly at the command ship. Then, full power to engines. We'll use the confusion to slip past their defenses. The tension on the bridge was palpable as they waited for Chen's command. The swarm ships pressed in, their weapons fire intensifying as they sensed victory was near. Now, Chen shouted. A blinding pulse of energy erupted from the Defiant, cutting through the swarm fleet like a hot knife through butter. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Then, chaos erupted. The swarm ships closest to the pulse exploded, while others spun wildly out of control. The massive command ship shuddered, its systems momentarily overloaded by the unexpected attack. Full power to engines, Chen ordered. Get us out of here. The Defiant shot forward, weaving through the disoriented swarm ships. Alarms blared as systems overloaded and failed, but Chen kept her focus on the path ahead. As they burst through the other side of the swarm fleet, a collective cheer went up from the crew. They had done the impossible. But their victory was short-lived. Captain, Rodriguez called out, his voice filled with dread. Long-range sensors are picking up more swarm signatures. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Chen's heart sank. They had won the battle. But the war was far from over. Earth was still in danger, and the Defiant was battered, low on power, and alone in uncharted space. As the adrenaline of their daring escape began to fade, the full weight of their situation settled on Chen's shoulders. They had survived, against all odds, but at what cost? And what challenges still lay ahead? With a deep breath, she straightened in her chair. Damage report, she ordered, her voice steady. And begin transmitting our warning to Earth. We're not out of this fight yet. As the Defiant limped away from the regrouping swarm, Captain Sarah Chen and her crew steeled themselves for the trials to come. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, but their greatest challenge still lay ahead. The fate of Earth, and perhaps all of humanity, now rested in their hands. The turning point. The UES Defiant drifted through the inky blackness of space, its once gleaming hull now scarred and battered. Inside, the crew worked tirelessly to repair what they could, the constant hum of emergency systems, a grim reminder of their precarious situation. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the ship's makeshift war room, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of their current position relative to Earth and the advancing swarm fleet. The news wasn't good. "Our warning message is en route to Earth," Commander Curry reported, her voice tinged with fatigue. "But at our current position, it'll take at least 3 days to reach them." Chen nodded grimly. "And how long before the swarm reaches Earth?" Dr. Takahashi stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. "Based on their current speed and trajectory, I estimate they'll arrive at Earth in approximately 5 days." A heavy silence fell over the room. They had bought Earth some time, but would it be enough? "What's the status of our ship?" Chen asked, turning to Lieutenant Rodriguez. The young officer's face was grim. "It's not good, Captain. We've managed to restore partial shield functionality, and our weapons are online, but our FTL drive is completely fried. We're limping along on impulse power only." Chen absorbed the information, her mind racing. They were out of the immediate danger, but far from safe. The swarm would undoubtedly be hunting for them, and in their current state, they wouldn't survive another direct confrontation. "We need a plan," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We can't outrun them, and we can't outgun them. But there must be something we can do to slow them down, give Earth more time to prepare." The room fell silent as each crew member racked their brains for ideas. Suddenly, Dr. Takahashi's eyes lit up. "Captain," he said, excitement creeping into his voice, "I think I might have something. During our escape, I managed to gather more data on the swarm's hive-mind communication system." Chen leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on, Doctor." Takahashi pulled up a complex diagram on the holographic display. "Their hive mind operates on a quantum entanglement principle, allowing for instantaneous communication across vast distances. It's incredibly advanced, but it also has a potential weakness." The turning point. The UES Defiant drifted through the inky blackness of space, its once gleaming hull now scarred and battered. Inside, the crew worked tirelessly to repair what they could, the constant hum of emergency systems a grim reminder of their precarious situation. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the ship's makeshift war room, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of their current position relative to Earth and the advancing swarm fleet. The news wasn't good. "Our warning message is en route to Earth," Commander Curry reported, her voice tinged with fatigue. "But at our current position, it'll take at least 3 days to reach them." Chen nodded grimly. "And how long before the swarm reaches Earth?" Dr. Takahashi stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. "Based on their current speed and trajectory, I estimate they'll arrive at Earth in approximately 5 days." A heavy silence fell over the room. They had bought Earth some time, but would it be enough? "What's the status of our ship?" Chen asked, turning to Lieutenant Rodriguez. The young officer's face was grim. "It's not good, Captain. We've managed to restore partial shield functionality, and our weapons are online, but our FTL drive is completely fried. We're limping along on impulse power only." Chen absorbed the information, her mind racing. They were out of the immediate danger, but far from safe. The swarm would undoubtedly be hunting for them, and in their current state, they wouldn't survive another direct confrontation. "We need a plan," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We can't outrun them, and we can't outgun them. But there must be something we can do to slow them down, give Earth more time to prepare." The room fell silent as each crew member racked their brains for ideas. Suddenly, Dr. Takahashi's eyes lit up. "Captain," he said, excitement creeping into his voice, "I think I might have something. During our escape, I managed to gather more data on the swarm's hive mind communication system." Chen leaned forward, intrigued. Go on, Doctor. Takahashi pulled up a complex diagram on the holographic display. Their hive mind operates on a quantum entanglement principle, allowing for instantaneous communication across vast distances. It's incredibly advanced, but it also has a potential weakness. What kind of weakness? Commander Curry asked, hope flickering in her eyes. The system relies on precise quantum synchronization. Takahashi explained. If we could disrupt that synchronization, even briefly, it could throw their entire fleet into disarray. Chen's mind raced with the possibilities. How would we do that? Takahashi's excitement grew as he elaborated. We'd need to create a massive quantum interference field, something that could temporarily break the entanglement across their entire fleet. Is that even possible? Rodriguez asked, skepticism evident in his voice. Theoretically, yes, Takahashi replied. But we'd need an enormous amount of energy, far more than our ship can generate in its current state. Chen's brow furrowed in thought. What about a star? Could we use the energy from a star to create this interference field? A cheer erupted on the bridge as a fleet of human ships dropped out of FTL, their weapons blazing as they engaged the still disoriented swarm vessels. Chen felt a wave of relief wash over her. Against all odds, they had done it. They had warned Earth, delayed the swarm, and lived to tell the tale. As the Earth ships moved to defend the crippled Defiant, Chen allowed herself a moment to breathe. They had turned the tide. But the war was far from over. The real battle for humanity's survival was just beginning. David versus Goliath. The bridge of the UES Defiant erupted in a mixture of cheers and disbelief as the Earth Defense Fleet engaged the disoriented swarm ships. Captain Sarah Chen, however, remained focused, her mind already racing ahead to the next challenge. Admiral Zhao, she called out over the comm. It's good to see you, sir. But how did you get here so quickly? The Admiral's gruff voice crackled through the speakers. We intercepted your warning, Captain. Earth's been preparing for something like this for years. We've had a rapid response fleet on standby. Now let's get you out of here. As Earth ships moved to defend the crippled Defiant, Chen turned to her crew. Status report. What can we get back online? Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers flew over his console. With some help from the fleet, we might be able to restore minimal propulsion and weapons in about an hour, but our FTL drive is still shot. Chen nodded grimly. They weren't out of the fight yet, but they were far from full strength. Make it happen, Lieutenant. Dr. Takahashi, what's the status of the swarm? The scientist studied his readings intently. They're recovering from our quantum interference faster than I anticipated, Captain. I estimate they'll be back to full coordination within the next 2 hours. Commander Corey's face paled. 2 hours. But that's not enough time for Earth tow. It'll have to be. Chen cut her off, her voice firm. We've given Earth a chance. Now we need to make the most of it. As if on cue, Admiral Zhou's voice came through again. Captain Chen, we need to talk strategy. The swarm's main fleet is still en route to Earth. This is just their advance force. We need to slow them down, buy more time for our defenses to mobilize. Chen's mind raced with possibilities. They had dealt the swarm a significant blow, but it wasn't enough. They needed something bigger, something that would cripple the invasion force entirely. Suddenly, an idea struck her. Admiral, what if we could take out their entire command structure in one fell swoop? There was a pause before Zhao responded. I'm listening, Captain. Chen gestured to Dr. Takahashi, who pulled up a holographic display of the swarm fleet. The swarm operates on a hive mind, but it's not completely decentralized. There's a hierarchy with primary and secondary command nodes. If we could identify and neutralize those nodes, we could throw their entire invasion force into chaos. Zhou finished, a note of excitement in his voice. But how do we find these command nodes? Takahashi stepped forward. I believe I can help with that, sir. During our earlier encounter, I managed to isolate some unique energy signatures associated with their command ships. If we can get close enough, we should be able to pinpoint their locations. Chen nodded, but getting close is the problem. They'll be heavily guarded, probably at the center of their formation. There was a long pause as both Chen and Zhao considered the challenge. Then, Chen's eyes lit up with a daring plan. "Admiral," she said, her voice filled with determination, "what if we give them exactly what they want?" "And what's that, Captain?" "Us," Chen replied. "The Defiant. They've been chasing us across the galaxy. They want our technology, our potential, as they put it. So let's give it to them." Understanding dawned on Corey's face. "A Trojan horse," she whispered. Chen nodded. "Exactly. We let them capture us, or at least think they have. We get taken to the heart of their fleet, right where their command nodes are likely to be. It's risky," Zhao cautioned. "If they discover your plan." "With all due respect, Admiral," Chen countered, "every second we wait puts Earth in more danger. This might be our only shot at stopping them before they reach our home." There was a tense moment of silence before Zhao responded. "All right, Captain. We'll follow your lead. What do you need from us?" Over the next hour, as the Defiant underwent hasty repairs, Chen and her crew worked feverishly to prepare for their daring mission. The plan was audacious, bordering on insane, but it was their best hope. The Earth fleet would stage a fighting retreat, leaving the Defiant apparently vulnerable. Once captured, the ship would be taken into the heart of the swarm fleet. There, using a combination of Dr. Takahashi's sensor modifications and some creative sabotage, they would identify and neutralize the swarm's command nodes. As the final preparations were made, Chen addressed her crew. "I won't lie to you. This mission is dangerous, possibly suicidal. But the fate of our entire species hangs in the balance. If anyone wishes to transfer to the Earth fleet, now is your chance. No one will think less of you." She paused, looking around the bridge. Not a single crew member moved. Chen felt a swell of pride. "Very well. To your stations, everyone. Let's remind these aliens why they should have never messed with humanity." The plan was set into motion. The Earth fleet engaged the recovered swarm ships, putting up a fierce fight before seemingly being overwhelmed. The Defiant, apparently crippled and unable to escape, was quickly surrounded by swarm vessels. As alien boarding parties breached the Defiant's hull, Chen and her crew enacted the next phase of their plan. They fought a strategic retreat through the ship, leaving false data trails and misdirections in their wake. All the while, Dr. Takahashi's hidden sensors gathered crucial data on the swarm's command structure. Hours passed as the Defiant was drawn deeper into the heart of the swarm fleet. The crew, hidden in a shielded compartment, worked tirelessly to analyze the incoming data. "I've got it," Takahashi finally announced, his voice barely above a whisper. 3 primary command nodes, here, here, and here." He pointed to locations on the holographic display. Chen studied the data, her mind already formulating a plan. "All right, here's what we're going to do. We'll split into 3 teams. Each team will target 1 command node. We'll have to work fast and in perfect coordination." As she outlined the plan, Chen could see the mix of fear and determination in her crew's eyes. They all knew the stakes. If they failed, Earth would fall. "Remember," Chen said as they prepared to move out, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human being, for the very future of our species. Whatever happens, know that your actions here today will echo through history." With a final nod to her crew, Chen gave the signal. It was time to take the fight to the heart of the swarm. As they emerged from their hiding place, alarms blared throughout the ship. The swarm had discovered their deception, but it was too late. The Defiant's crew moved with precision and speed, fighting their way through confused alien forces towards their targets. Chen led her team towards the nearest command node, her pulse rifle blazing as they encountered resistance. Around her, she could hear the sounds of battle echoing through the massive swarm ship. They reached the command center, a bizarre organic-looking structure pulsing with strange energies. As Chen's team secured the area, Dr. Takahashi rushed forward, attaching devices to key points around the room. Quantum destabilizers, he explained quickly. They'll disrupt the hive-mind connection and overload their systems. Similar scenes played out across the other two command nodes as the Defiant's crew fought with everything they had. It was a battle of desperation, of human ingenuity and determination against overwhelming alien force. As the last destabilizer was set, Chen opened a channel to all teams. Devices planted. Fall back to extraction points. Detonation in 3 minutes. The retreat was as chaotic as their advance. Injured crew members were carried by their comrades as they fought their way back through waves of increasingly disorganized swarm forces. With seconds to spare, the teams regrouped at the Defiant. As they sealed the airlock, Chen gave the order. Detonate now. A massive shockwave rippled through the swarm fleet as the command nodes exploded simultaneously. On the Defiant's view screen, they watched in awe as ship after ship lost power, colliding with each other or drifting aimlessly in space. "My God," Corey breathed. "We did it." But Chen knew their fight wasn't over yet. "Get us out of here, maximum impulse, and someone tell Admiral Zhao it's time to bring in the cavalry." As the Defiant limped away from the chaos they had created, the Earth Defense Fleet reappeared, launching a massive counterattack against the now disorganized swarm. The battle that followed was fierce, but with their hive mind shattered and their command structure in ruins, the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, the swarm ships were destroyed or disabled. Hours later, as the last enemy vessel fell silent, Chen allowed herself to relax for the first time in what felt like years. They had done the impossible. They had saved Earth. As congratulations poured in from the fleet and from Earth itself, Chen looked around at her battered but unbowed crew. In their eyes, she saw not just relief and joy, but a new understanding of what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. The swarm had fought to find an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious, stronger and more united than ever before. As the Defiant turned towards home, Captain Sarah Chen knew that this was not the end, but a beginning. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger, more dangerous universe. But they had proven, beyond any doubt, that they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The stars awaited, and humanity would meet them head-on. Aftermath and reflection. The UES Defiant glided through space, its battle-scarred hull a testament to the ordeal it had endured. Earth loomed large in the view screen, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the vastness of space. For Captain Sarah Chen and her crew, it was a sight they had feared they might never see again. As they approached Earth's orbit, a chorus of cheers and applause erupted from the ship-wide comm system. The voices of millions of humans, united in celebration and gratitude, filled the bridge. Chen felt a lump form in her throat as the magnitude of their accomplishment truly sank in. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice thick with emotion, "we're being hailed by pretty much everyone. The President, the UN Secretary General, even the Pope. They all want to speak with you." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Tell them they'll have to wait. Right now, I just want to get my crew home safely." As they entered Earth's atmosphere, the Defiant was escorted by a formation of fighter jets, a hero's welcome for the ship that had saved humanity. The skyline of New York City came into view, and Chen could see crowds gathered in the streets, all eyes turned skyward. The landing was smooth, despite the Defiant's damages. As the airlock opened, Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She led her crew down the ramp, blinking in the bright sunlight. They were met by a sea of faces, military officials, government leaders, and civilians alike. At the forefront stood Admiral Zhao, his usually stern face now beaming with pride. "Captain Chen," he said, saluting crisply, "on behalf of Earth and all of humanity, welcome home." Chen returned the salute, then surprised everyone by pulling the Admiral into a tight hug. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. The days that followed were a whirlwind of debriefings, ceremonies, and media appearances. The crew of the Defiant were hailed as heroes, their names becoming household words overnight. But for Chen and her team, the gravity of what they had experienced and the challenges that still lay ahead weighed heavily on their minds. A week after their return, Chen found herself standing before the United Nations General Assembly. As she looked out at the gathered leaders of Earth, she took a moment to collect her thoughts before beginning her address. "Distinguished delegates, leaders of Earth, my fellow humans," she began, her voice steady and clear. "We stand here today having faced the greatest threat our species has ever known. The swarm came to our galaxy believing they would find an easy conquest. Instead, they found humanity." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But our victory, hard-fought as it was, is not the end of our challenges. It is a beginning. We have taken our first steps into a larger, more complex universe than we ever imagined, and we must be prepared for what comes next." Chen's eyes swept across the assembly, meeting the gazes of leaders from every nation. The swarm was defeated not by any one country or military force, but by humanity as a whole. We won because we stood together, because we combined our strengths and overcame our differences. This unity, this spirit of cooperation, must not end with the swarm's defeat. It must be our path forward. She outlined her vision for the future: increased funding for space exploration and defense, a united Earth fleet to protect their planet and push further into the stars, and a new era of global cooperation to face whatever challenges the universe might throw at them. As Chen concluded her speech, the assembly hall erupted in a standing ovation. She had given voice to the hopes and determination of an entire species, newly awakened to its potential and its place in the cosmos. In the months that followed, the world changed rapidly. The remains of the swarm fleet were studied, yielding technological advancements that propelled human science forward by decades. A new, united Earth government was formed, dedicated to the exploration and defense of their planet and its interests in space. The Defiant, fully repaired and upgraded, was recommissioned as the flagship of the new Earth Expeditionary Force. Its mission: to venture deeper into the galaxy, to seek out new civilizations, and to ensure that humanity would never again be caught unprepared. On the eve of their departure, Captain Chen stood in the Defiant's observation lounge, gazing out at the stars. Commander Corey joined her, handing her a steaming mug of coffee. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain," Corey asked. Chen smiled, taking a sip of the coffee. "Just thinking about how far we've come, and how far we still have to go. A year ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we know better," Corey finished. "It's a big galaxy out there." Chen nodded. "And not all of it is friendly. But we've proven that humanity is ready to face whatever's out there. We're not just survivors anymore. We're explorers, diplomats, maybe even peacekeepers. It's a lot of responsibility," Corey mused. "It is," Chen agreed. "But I can't think of a species better suited to handle it. We've got the determination, the creativity, the sheer stubbornness to make it work. And we've got something else too." "What's that?" Chen turned to face her XO, a glint of adventure in her eyes. "An entire universe to discover. And I, for one, can't wait to see what's out there." As if on cue, the ship's intercom crackled to life. "Captain to the bridge. We're ready for departure." Chen straightened her uniform, a sense of excitement and purpose filling her. "Well, Commander, shall we go see what the universe has in store for us?" Together, they walked to the bridge, ready to lead humanity into its next great adventure. As the Defiant broke orbit and accelerated towards the stars, Captain Sarah Chen couldn't help but smile. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. Whatever the universe had in store, humanity was ready. The stars beckoned, and the Defiant answered the call, carrying with it the hopes, dreams, and indomitable spirit of the human race. Their journey was just beginning, and the greatest chapters of human history were yet to be written.